Oh, hi. You caught me enjoying one of my many daily coffees. This is going to be a long overdue update video, and whether it's in the same video or not, I'm not sure. But it might be 3 videos, because first is an update. Second is something that I really need to talk about with this kind of spectrum that's appeared between people that want to live in an akiya versus people that want to live in an untouched traditional Japanese kominka. There's a spectrum between them that I think is worth talking about. The third thing is that because the weather is getting so warm, traditional Japanese houses and the way they were designed, it kind of doesn't work. So that's something that you would need to know about if you're going to especially hunt the more traditional option. It's something you need to think about. And another thing, we started our tour guide business and also package tours actually. If you want to see more about Japanese countryside life or about, this house in particular, sure, but in general, what the old houses might be like, or what village life is like, or what it's like actually looking after things when you're living in this kind of place, or you just want to have a talk about this kind of stuff, we're doing tours in our village, and also things like green tea ceremonies and making the local snacks and stuff like that. But that's one of the tours that we offer, a day tour. But at the moment, we're also offering, or able to offer, package tours, which is one of the reasons why last year, why we were so incredibly busy, is because now we can actually book car hire for people and accommodation and things like that, so that it just makes it really easy to explore this area. In particular, the hot spring village at Yuya Onsen and Mount Horaiji, exploring around there, that's where we encourage most people to go. But if you are interested in Japanese countryside life, or getting a taste for it if you have the chance someday, or if you don't really have the chance for it, you want to kind of get a bit of experience living like that, we do day tours here where we can show you around and do some village things. So if you go to the website that I will hopefully be able to put at the bottom of the screen and the description on YouTube, that's our website for our tours. So take a look at that. Yeah, that's one of the ways that you can kind of get some real life experience in this kind of place and this kind of lifestyle. So first of all, as an update, we'll probably start somewhere really dirty and gross, like up in the roof, and I'll start explaining what we've done in the last 9 months or so. Okay, up we go. Up the only ladder that fits in here. Okay, so here we are in the roof. It's a dirty place. It was much more dirty with animal poo, leaves, all kinds of stuff. And now it's a bit more dirty again because, well, you'll see later the roof has been changed and there was a lot of dirt up there, so now it's down here. But it's better than the dirt that was here before, if that makes sense. There was also a lot of stuff up here. There's not really much stuff up here at the moment, but there was lots of stuff, and we had to get that out. Now it's not a lot lighter, which is better for earthquakes and stuff. It's not as clean as I'd like. And I would like to take the roof, like the ceiling, off from the bottom floor so that we can see the beams and everything. Not sure when we'll get to that, but that's going to be a real pain in the ass because of how dirty everything is. The first thing to notice is that everything is black. Pretty much everything. The reason for that is that they used to dry tobacco up here, and they had silkworms, and there was just tons of smoke coming in here. And especially considering the middle of the house is about 150 years old, it's, 100 years of smoke and stuff like that. There is one job I need to do up here before we continue on, and that's changing this thing. So it's like Nezumi's a mouse, tachiri kinchi, do not enter. And it's made with real mint and real cat essence. Don't ask me how the cat essence part gets in there, but there is somehow cat smell in this. And I will show you it it ends up like this, like a hard gel ball that doesn't really smell, but it starts quite different. And I'll show you in a second what it looks like. So it starts off like this, like blue, thick gel. And we've been using these up here in the roof for over a year now to stop animals living in here. And honestly, it works pretty well. It just smells they hate. And the cat smell, our cat doesn't care. And it seems to work. We had a Hakobishin in here before we moved in. That was a problem. Yeah, so there's I think you can probably see a lot of spider webs up here. A lot fewer than there were before. And a really important thing to know, ooh, look at that one. Really important thing to know is that there used to be pretty nasty old power lines running through here. The old Japanese way, if you can see it here, there's two ceramic insulators that are screwed, I assume, or nailed into the taruki, this beam here. Now I know the Japanese words, not the English words. Rafter, I guess. You'd have the live and the neutral on each insulator, a copper wire with some crusty braided sheathing on the outside. And I mean, if you get that updated, it's not so bad, but I mean, it's not the best solution for reasons that I'll talk about when I start talking about how the weather is changing. It gets so hot up here, and if you've got an old house with this crusty wiring in it, the split wiring itself is not so much the issue, it's the age of the wires. I don't think they accounted for droop or how crusty the insulation's getting, stuff like that. So we had a lot of things changed to just this new type, regular old grey wire. And when we eventually take the floor off, and you can see the beams, we'll neaten that up, do something with it. I mean, there's ways to hide it. People sometimes just paint it black, which not sure how good that is for the heat dissipation, but whatever. This is kind of interesting. Before I head to the other part of the house, this is the newest room that was built in the house. Around the 80s, I think, 70s or 80s. So lots of crap plywood, crap undressed timber used, very cheaply done. They wanted to raise the ceiling up, so they cut out the old floor and just squished this in, and it's probably going to come out. We are renovating. It's very much paused for now. We are renovating the room that's under this, so yeah, that may change. Something important to know, actually, about this house. So the middle of the house, when we go this way, you probably won't have any way of understanding where I am in relation to anything else. But the reason why there's a wall here, really, inside the roof, is that this used to be the side of the house. The part that you can see in front of me here, until another old side of the house, is around 150 years old. Meiji Gonen, the Meiji 5, this is quite a while ago. And there's a style of house from this part of Japan in between the Toyogawa River and the Tenryugawa River. There's this, pattern. There's this type of house that it's the type of house that everyone built. I don't know if it's for political reasons or not, but you were only really allowed to build the living part of the house first. Then after that, you had to apply to get permission to build the roof over the kitchen side of the house, meaning that you had kind of a two-stage house, which is why this part, the oldest part, is here, where the sleeping parts are, and the tatami and everything like that. But this part that is built equally in kind of an old traditional way, until near the edge of the house there, is what they built soon after. I don't know what that UFO pyramid thing is, by the way. And then at some point they extended it a bit that way, a bit extra, and we had an architect describe that as being temporary, quote unquote. And again, on that side, I'll show you in a bit, they extended it out. This here, this mysterious room that used to be full of animal poo, it had a very convenient way for the animals to get in, but we heard from a carpenter that works in this area that apparently because we had lots of important people coming through this area during the Sengoku period, and when all these samurai were fighting each other in important families, things like that, there was this pattern of people having kind of like a hiding space in their roof. So there is a chance that this is like a important person's hiding area that people just built into their houses. Not entirely sure, but I mean, things like the strange pyramid thing and all that stuff was pretty much all for silkworms and tobacco and stuff like that. I'll keep going through. I'll show you some of the things that are going on in here. There's another pyramid thing. There's some more good, by Japanese standards, wiring. You can see here there's a lot of those insulators that have been left there, but the wire's taken. Something we can look after later. There's some kind of fiber optic internet cable that doesn't get used anymore that I didn't notice until now. Up here in this section, the oldest part of the house, you can actually see how the wood comes from an even older house. It's been recycled to be used in here. It's got these joints from some time before. And so the termites don't like old wood, which is why, I mean, that and it being super cheap is why people like to reuse something that was perfectly fine when they rebuilt their house. And the roof in here is not so bad. You can see it's, I don't know if you can tell exactly, but it does have waterproof sheeting that is not completely biodegraded. And it's got the black beams that were original from all the smoke, and it's got these lighter colored ones when they've fixed the roof at some point in the last, I would hope, 20, 30 years. If we keep moving across, this is somewhere where they would have had a fire or a iori, like fire pit underneath here. So all the steam and the smoke would have come up through there and gone through the tobacco and whatever. If we keep going across, this is a spot somewhere around here. They cut some of the supports out so you could walk through, and it wasn't so good. Over here they had like 100 years of the previous family's charms that they put in the house, and they just left them. So we had the help of someone staying with us clean all that out, and we sort of overwhelmed our village's system of refreshing the charms for the year by giving them 3 boxes of 100-year-old charms or whatever at one time, which, you know, they took it, but they said it was too much, but that's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. So yeah, we're not putting them up in the roof to forget about them. This is a piece of wood that I don't remember being there before. And this is, what is that? Dead bug. This is also the edge of what was the house, the side of the house before, the original 150-year-old house. You can see here, all of the roof on this side is that new timber. It's not black. And this is a part of the house I think they built when they had more money. It's built a more traditional way, really, but it's giving us problems that I will talk about later because of that traditionalness that doesn't seem to work much anymore. And it's got some bracing and stuff like that, and it's kind of, it's all right. The inside of the room underneath here looks nicer, but it is something that we're going to have to look after probably more than the rest of the house. I should go back and look at this joint that I'm worried about as an example. You can see where they joined it onto the old house. It's really not, it's not that joined, I would say. It's kind of an independent little section of house that's held on by the roof, but that's not necessarily a problem. And here is, here you can see, especially by the way, where the power lines went before. Having those changed to modern ones was really comforting, especially in summer. So we didn't have to worry about there being hot, crusty, ancient wires up here. I was going to talk about joints in the roof. This is an example where the 150-year-old side meets the not quite 150-year-old side, And this is the section of the house where everyone for the last however many 100 years, or however many decades, has walked onto the roof. And because of that, it's actually stressed out this joint, and it's even broken the rafter here at some point. It's been fixed bit by bit, but it's not ideal. And through there, you can actually see some fresh plywood for reasons I'll show you soon. But that's a spot where I'm gonna have to fix that. But realistically, these Japanese houses now, like, after all these big earthquakes have happened and things like that, I think a lot of people's priorities had to change. The joints and stuff in the roof now is not really the concern as much as the walls on the sides of the house. All right, I'm gonna get out of this disgusting spot and then breathe clean air outside and talk to you then. All right, let's continue looking at some stuff with this room. You can see there's a top there. This was a sleeping room. We pulled the floor out. We did a whole bunch of stuff. We took out lots of rubbish, and we have a plan of how to put floor in and stuff like that as well. But we haven't actually 100% decided. Do we want this to be a sleeping room or a new kitchen? And we probably will do a new kitchen, but we will probably do what's called a doma kitchen, where you fill concrete on the ground here. Because traditionally they just had hard clay, and it was doma, literally means dirt space. We'd put concrete down instead, and then have a bigger space that we could put, kitchen things in, like fridge, tall things like that. It gives you more space, but it's colder and everything, but it's not too bad. Just costs money, and we have to commit to something, which is hard. So for the moment, we have this big, lovely tarp that acts as our wall. At least not many bugs and things get in here. There were mice when we moved in here. There were crabs, but now we get crabs in the kitchen through the kitchen door and holes on that wall, not through here. So this is not too much of a worry for the moment. Ow, there's something in my shoe. Okay. Nice view, right? It's winter now, so it's not very green. It still looks nice. The biggest change that has happened as we come around is the roof here. The roof on this part of the house here was absolutely just horrible. Ancient kawara, the tiles. It didn't matter what people on the internet said. They were absolutely dreaming. I could see the sky from inside. It was just not good. I'll put some photos if I can of photos from inside when we were changing the roof that shows kind of just how many holes there were. Yeah, this is metal. It's like sideways sheet metal stuff. Some people really don't like it. They complain about it, but we were able to change even the edge there, all of this side. We didn't change the rafters that they call taruki in Japan. We didn't change the very bottom layer of wood, which means we have this interesting layer of ancient stuff in there. But on top, it's plywood, and then under that is sometimes some new wood to make it more flat. Yeah, plywood, and then this sheet metal stuff. And yeah, some people say, oh, it's more noisy or it's more hot, whatever. Honestly, so far it's warmer and cooler when it needs to be, and quieter than the tiles, because it has a lining of foam underneath the metal. That cost us, honestly, for the sake of, I can't be bothered figuring out the exact numbers, but it's probably like $10,000 US that we did that for. Really cheap, because we know a person. We kind of offered to help out while we did it. We had a special situation as well that we want to do things with the old tiles, so for various reasons we got it a bit cheap. That side of the roof is fine, so we're not really touching that yet. We've got Christmas lights around the place, which you might notice at the moment. This has become a herb garden that the either kamoshka, the goat thing, or the deer, they were stomping around in and pooing on it and trying the herbs that we were growing in there and then finding out they were disgusting, and it got, yeah, stomped a bit. But yeah, at the moment there's Japanese mint and rosemary that are surviving during the winter. Today is oddly warm, which is why I think there's shoots on that rose-ish bush. There's some of the plants that my wife is looking after that can be used to attract honeybees. You will see why that's important later. We've got Christmas lights here. We have cleaned up around the, how would you describe that? The Tochi Kami-sama, the god of our land. We found out that this what looks like a tombstone is actually probably kind of mixed and matched bits from one tombstone, question mark, and so it's not quite original. It's a bit of a creative interpretation of what one might be, but it's still very nice, and the rock that actually has made it up is still several hundreds of years old, and there's some parts there from what it was before. Coming around the corner here, I still want to put fly screen on this part of the house, but this column in particular has some to lots of termite damage, and so it definitely needs to be changed. So when that does get changed, the whole shape of this side of the house will completely change, and then any fly screen part I add will not have much meaning. And there's our cat. If we look this way, I've got some of this this boso sheet, as they call it, the kind of stop the grass growing sheet. It's actually pretty good, and where we've put it, it's been very useful. So I'm not sure exactly when. It'll be sometime pretty soon. I've actually got to redo the drainage around the house because it's raining so hard all the time now, and I'll be talking about that when I talk about how the weather's changing. But it's just something that, like, the old way is just not working. So in the middle here, for example, I'll be putting a drainage ditch, to be honest, and then more of this boso sheet over everywhere, just to stop this grass taking over, because it absolutely does. The kura hasn't changed. I mean, it's more useful getting into now, but that hasn't changed. I'm not sure if this was like this last time, but I took off most of the concrete wall that was here, except for there where it was too strong, and smacking it there was actually starting to move some of the rocks on the top of the rock wall, which didn't feel right. So I'm just letting it weather, because when the water gets in, it starts chemically changing the mortar, the ancient mortar at the bottom, and makes it easier to take off. And this plant here was originally attached to the bricks, and we left it growing as it was because it's kind of funny now that it has no support. Our cat's trying to do something strange again. Teta, what are you doing? Teta, what are you doing? You strange creature. Oh, it's a bug. Meow. Wow. Bother. Right, well, you want to see how bad the tiles are? I just stepped on that now and the damn thing broke in half without much weight on it. That's what they were all like on the roof. It was terrible. Oh, there's you probably can't see it, but there's a spot there where the deer, or the kamoshka, probably the deer, were coming right up here really close to where we sleep next to the house and digging to find bulbs and stuff under the ground. And occasionally you can even see like piles of their poo just all over the place right next to the house. Everyone in the village is finding like suspicious little dugout sections around their house. There's some here as well, and just a bunch of poo really close to their house, and that's not good. Things are very like that. Things are very odd around here at the moment. There's not enough food for animals and things. Here's the tiles, and we haven't been able to really commit to doing a lot of like smashing to make them like gravel yet, for the fact that I need to do these drainage ditches before we do that, otherwise it doesn't have much meaning. But yeah, basically you smash it into small pieces, and then as much patience as you have, you go as small as you can. And over there though, you can't really tell now because it's after we've been walking on it in a while, it breaks a little bit more and it becomes pretty much just gravel. So it's a nice kind of recycling of that. Yeah, not much else has really happened on this side. Yeah, the roof changed over there. The roof here over the fish pond, that's got to go. I need to replace that soon. That's just getting torn up every time the wind is strong, and there were termites in it, and it wasn't built super well. Looks really nice, but I'm gonna have to build like a independently standing, better built version of it, I guess, but with actual decking finish over it, so it has something to resist the weather. Coming through here, the fly screen fell off. You can ignore that. This is where I had the boar saw sheet, the grass covering sheet, last year. It's worked really well, but as you can tell, just as things go, it gets dirt and leaves on it, so things will start growing on it already. But this will all come up. It's being held down by a whole bunch of cinder blocks and stuff now when I remake the drainage ditch behind the house. And we did have animals going into a hole there, but that was actually a pretty big problem. They were digging to get under the house right next to the foundation rocks where the columns of the house come down and sit on these rocks. I found something in the hardware shop that's like these cubes that smell like garlic and chili. They smell so good. It smells like really nice sausages, but the animals absolutely hate it more than anything in the world. So much so that way at the back of the house there and here, the first time I put these cubes in, on the other side of the house, we found some of the boards covering the crawl space pushed out from the inside because the animals thought it was so stinky they wanted to get out. So that was pretty good. That seemed to be quite successful, really. Looking up there, I don't know if I'll go up there, but the grass is still overgrown, even though I have the black sheet right up against the wall. In this area, I cut a lot of stuff, and I will have to pull all these plants out because I want to concrete the top part there, and probably put some concrete here to support this massive rock that I believe was probably just like that when they put the house here about 150 years ago. But it's got some cracks in it and things that are happening mostly because of the plants up the top there with the roots and everything, and I don't want a massive rock falling onto the house. Oh, and an important bit of information is that the fish are pretty much the same. They're a bit chilly today, so they're hiding away a bit. The fish are fine, which is very important because these fish have become unreasonably important, I guess I'd say. In terms of other updates this way, not that much other than cutting trees down. So I will show you something. Living here with these deer has become a constant cycle of experiments to try and stop the goddamn deer breaking stuff. So inspired by cattle grids in Australia, and I will put a picture of a cattle grid up if you have no idea. It's to stop the cows leaving cattle farms where you don't need a gate, you just put it over the road. I started with this one, where in the same way on this spot where the hill was really eroding, I made this funny thing out of bamboo with kind of cattle grid spacing so that probably the deer would hate climbing it and they'd try and choose a different way to jump up that would stop so much erosion. It appeared to be working, and there's also like an old roof rack from a car that also seemed to do the same thing. After doing that, I noticed they were coming up different ways, so I've made another one like that one there out of some free wood that we got, and I mean it seems to be working. But the nice thing is these fences, I don't know what else to call them, they're light, they're really cheap to make. There's 3 of them here. They're pretty easy to fix in place. They are tall enough that the deer don't want to jump over them. The deer don't want to walk on them because they hate the feeling, I guess. And I've been able to make them for free, which is nice. This part of our land has actually probably had quite a few changes since last year. This path got a lot more clean, but we kind of stopped using that because my wife decided that she wanted an easier way to get up to the bees. So I made this this staircase here, just to, you know, it's not every day you get to build a staircase. So I decided to use wood that was used in the floor of the room that we demolished. I used the wood from that, which honestly was reused wood from probably the roof of another house. Now in its third use, it's become a staircase, which is nice. But the reason why this is important is because bees. I wonder if you can even see the bees there. I don't know if you can see the bees or hear the bees, but they're buzzing, which is weird because it's the middle of January. But there's bees there. Bees make honey. I eat lots of honey. I don't like bees. So they're my wife's bees, and she deals with those. She got stung on her face in between her eyes the other day. And yeah, I'm not into that. But I unfortunately have to help when I must. So that's a little bit stressful, but there's bigger problems with the bees I'll talk about that I really don't like. Hopefully next year we can get some honey if the weather is normal. Big asterisk on if the weather is normal. God, today is so warm. I feel like the bloody snakes are gonna start waking up soon. But this bamboo forest has become a lot more clean than it was before. And you can see we've got some sideways there to try and stop the dirt flooding down the hill when there's heavy rain. And we were cutting it bit by bit. It honestly takes quite a bit of effort to trim the bamboo. It's like grass that got out of hand, seriously. So it's kind of like cutting the big grass. But the problem is the leaves on the bamboo. When you cut it down, you have to deal with these like pointy, flappy leaves, and it's just this unwieldy, pointy, flexible thing that takes a significant amount of effort and time, to be honest. So that's what happens with that. This is where I've got my stockpile of bamboo, and like, as annoying as it is, this stuff is kind of magical. Look how thick that is. It's good stuff. Again, it is annoying, but it's good stuff. And here you can start to see I've been using it to make like terraces, really, on the side of the hill. I don't know how well you can see that. Over there I've got 3 levels of it, but that's covered in grass. It might be hard to see. The big change compared to last year might be that all of the shikimi trees in this area are gone, and we've started trying to prepare it to use it for growing other things. But God, you would not believe how tough and strong the wood and the stumps of the shikimi is. My God, it's strong. Tank area looks about the same. Tank is still doing its thing, stopping any landslides here and catching the groundwater coming out. It got inspected by the prefecture like 4 or 5 months ago. No, maybe 3 months ago. That was pretty good. And then yeah, we've got another little section of bamboo forest there. It's going all right. You can see the pink tape. My first experiment was the pink tape. The pink tape didn't really stop the deer that much. So then after that, I moved on to pointy bits of bamboo, and that didn't always work so well. And then I started doing stuff with just bigger pieces of wood and things, and it didn't really work. And then I gave up for a while, but my neighbor really took the many strands of pink tape idea to the extreme, and he's been experimenting with things himself. There's tons of it down there as well. The deer are really tearing up his land, so he's really trying. But unfortunately, we drove through here one time and the deer actually went straight up through there, so the pink tape wasn't working. So actually I took some Christmas lights and added them there, because along with the cattle grid idea, Christmas lights set to their most flashy, annoying pattern is also a technique that we're trying at the moment, but it's a lot harder to see if it actually works. But I mean, it's solar powered Christmas lights, so it's, you know, if we have them, it's worth a try. So yeah, we added some there, and I guess in some number of months when we can actually compare the damage, we'll see if it's done anything. Speaking of the deer and Kamoshka and stuff, it's been kind of odd, really. we had a kamoshka that was just coming through this area all the time. You can probably still see the track through there. That was him, and what he would do is he'd come down the steps here, through there, jump down this massive rock, and then go down towards the river. And he didn't take any other path, he just went there. And the thing is that the kamoshka are like goats, so they go fast and they're kind of violent, and they tear up the ground as well. But one time I was standing about here, you know, I'm not that far from the road, from the steps that it would go down, and I heard this noise coming from up there, like the sound of something hitting the bamboo, and it makes this like sound when the bamboo hits other bamboo or something smacking into it. I thought it was like a tire rolling down the hill from someone's rubbish from 40 years ago that was coming down. It was just such a like violent banging sound coming down the hill. Eventually I see this kamoshka, this grey and white goat-ish thing, sprinting down here, sprints down next to the bees, comes down, and just next to the staircase here, it jumps all the way down onto the road, sprints across, and it's only about 3 meters from me, comes down over the stairs here and runs down. He didn't look at me once. So the kamoshka are famous for not really caring about people, but that kamoshka just did not give a single flying F about me being there. And that's why they're kind of bad when people are driving around and they don't get off the road. This is where we cut a lot of the shikimi. I still have to look after some of the stuff down there, but it becomes like this because this stuff doesn't rot. It's thick and it just doesn't rot. It gets dry and it doesn't rot. And as an example of what we're going to replace it with, this is a very, very sad looking tree, but it has a story behind it. This tree in this fence here is a lemon eucalyptus. What was that? Bacchausia citriadoria. It's the highest content citronella leaf type tree that you can get, and it seems that most of these are frost resistant, quite resistant to everything, and they sell the plants in Japan, but also, you know, if we can distill the oil from this ourselves and have a natural way to try and pretty much have an insect repellent that is mostly for ticks and mosquitoes, it would be very nice. Because I would prefer to use homegrown, you know, recommended by many places, governments, groups, whatever, natural citronella based oil, insect spray, rather than 30% DEET spray that yeah, is not so good. The thing is though, like I was saying with the kamoshka that was running through here, for a while this plant was doing really well. It was growing so fast in summer. It was really hot, we had heavy rains. It was kind of honestly like Brisbane in Australia weather for a while. Pretty good, but it smells really strong, so there were no bugs around it. It smelled really good to humans, but we came down one day and the largest branch of the tree had been just stomped into the ground, and we assume it was honestly a kamoshka or a deer complaining about the smell. It was around their breeding time. They were getting all excited. They were starting to dig holes in the ground to pee in, to say it's my land, whatever. I think they had a problem with the tree. So then I put this fence on it that I did have on it originally. And then it was going fine, regrowing again, like a real trooper. And then we had a cold snap, I think it was around November, and it just started really struggling. It got frosty, and then I put this little lid on it so it didn't get frost directly on it. But we've had minus temperatures for a while, off and on, in the early mornings, and that hasn't been so good for it. But I don't know, it may spring back when it gets warm enough. And if it does spring back, then we can know that this tree is not only strong to the weather in the area, it's strong to the animals in the area. And then we'll just probably plant a bunch of it and very carefully make sure that it doesn't get big enough to set everything on fire someday. Yeah, how about those eucalyptus trees, huh? I mean, they're normal for me, but let's just say certain parts of the world, it hasn't been good. For the front of the house here, decoration is pretty much gone. Everything that wasn't finished with some kind of oil or treatment has biodegraded, been eaten by termites. It's had to go. Is that a wasp trying to make a nest over there? Hope not. Anyway, the weather is strange, and I'll talk about that later. Down that way, I'm not going down there because it's annoying, but I cut a bunch of the shikimi down there. With the neighbor's help, he cut it right down to the stumps. He actually helped all over the place. And I've put a lot of the cut stuff against where the hill gets really steep, to be honest, as more kind of erosion control, catch that dirt before it flows off. Because yeah, with heavy rains, the surface dirt here just disappears. The topsoil is just gone, and that's just because things are not good, not as they should be. This area looks pretty much the same. I will go down to look at one part of it, but yeah, this area here, the deer are all over there all the time. So I actually had to cut a whole bunch of trees so it's just out of their head range. I should point out, last time in the video there was a big sign over this hole thing. This hole was a bit mysterious for a while, and it's got a pipe in it. We actually found out that this hole, and there's like a little pond, I guess you call it a pond in there that you can't see. This is actually where they used to release the water from their bath and then reuse it in the garden or whatever. If you look at the house, you've got this line between the 150-year-old part of the house, mostly, on the left side, which is the part they could build first. Then a couple of years later, they could ask permission to build the roof on the left side over the kitchen and stuff. Kind of just in the middle is where they had their bath. And if I line it up right, you can see it lines up with the bath, because after they had a bath, they just drain the water in here and then use it in the garden and stuff, which is, you know, kind of eco, but that's not a bath anymore. And so now there's just a pool of water that has no drainage in the bottom, which is cool. So yeah, that is very much a what would you call that? It's a habitat for these kind of newt salamander creatures that I'm guessing eat lots of the mosquito babies that inevitably grow in there. This is the only place where the pink tape works, by the way. And as we look down towards the slightly more unfortunate bee box that might not be going so well, don't know if you'll be able to see, but there are deer footprints all over this, just solid everywhere, because this is where they come up all the time. And it's a thing that I can't stop them, so I need to make them have ways they can move that they're not going to damage anything. Here is where we had more of the shikimi. I cut it all down. I made these kind of banks to try and stop the erosion. In summer, I don't know what you call it, it's like that black prickle that comes in like a little ball, and they stick on your clothes really, really well. I don't know if there's even a name for that in Australia, but they grew like wild in summer. I cut them 2 or 3 times, and eventually I just pulled them all out of the ground one by one, and they got really thick, and you can still see that a lot of it is there. But what I've tried to do, and I need to do some more, is essentially groundwater control, slowing the water down where it's going, trying to get it to flow where I want it to. I still have lots to do, but the kind of temporary basic stuff is being done. What's going on here? Is that from ice crystals or animals? Anyway, the ground is doing something strange here. Bit soft. This is where, around here, we have 2 more experimental trees to see how they go. This is actually a variety of mimosa that, it's some wattle. It's actually like a type of wattle from Australia, which is from that same mimosa family. The thing is that just after this one was planted and it was growing really well, the entire top half was eaten by a deer. Because at that time I wasn't using this metal fence. I was using the much more old-fashioned way, where you take a whole bunch of the pointy parts of the bamboo and you make a ring around the tree so that when the deer tries to go in to eat it, they might get their eye poked by the bamboo, so they give up. they didn't give up. They just ate half of it. So we were really not expecting it to come back, and it's coming back. And it's going through the middle of winter with new growth, and it looks healthy. So yeah, if this one grows well, knowing that it's weather and animal strong, animal resistant, we'll have to wrap it in a wire cage, but definitely we'll be looking at that one. This is an interesting one that I have no idea how this is going to go, but this is a lemon myrtle tree. So it's actually from kind of subtropical rainforesty, more temperate climates around Queensland and Australia. But these, the good leaves, maybe not these ones, the good leaves, you can use them as a herb. You can make really nice tea with it. You can put it in food. You can use it as a spice. It has citronella as well, I believe, in there. But these are edible. So that one is least likely to grow because it's just from a completely foreign set of environmental conditions completely. But if it grows well, we'll consider growing more of that one, and it would be nice to make our own homegrown tea and spice and stuff using that. I'm not going to spend too much time over this other side where the bamboo is all cut and everything, but you can see there's another set of bees. This is a set of bees in a place that we thought might be alright, but in the end this has not been a good spot for bees. The Japanese native honeybees, they are really unlike Western honeybees because, I mean, first of all, they're native, so they know what they like. You have to trick them to get into your nesting box that you build. That's one thing. And then second of all, they need a view so they can see out. They need just the right temperature. They need not too much sun. With the weather changing, you have to really be thinking about the amount of sun and shade that's hitting it between the seasons. Because it's so extreme, you have to be thinking about that. We all thought that maybe the bamboo area one wouldn't be so good, but it turned out to be opposite. So that bee box is not doing so well, but we'll see how that goes. They're being kind of quarantined at the moment as well because they might have that same mite that bees are getting around the world. Here I've cleaned it up a bit more since last year. I need to go in and clean up some more, but I think it was, yeah, after that last video, May came, and around May or late April is when the bamboo just goes absolutely insane. I want to use stronger words there. It goes wild. It just sends up shoots like 10 a day at least, sometimes more, I feel. Huge shoots coming out of the ground. It'll grow 30 centimeters in a day. So I had to come in here like every day around May, and the other spot as well, and just kick down lots of new shoots that I didn't want. And as you can see, I didn't get them all because there's new bamboo growing down there, like a not insignificant amount of it. So bamboo is really it's a hell of a thing. But yeah, that's a project before it gets warm, just to look after that. God, there's so much deer poo here. There's already flies flying around as well. Why are there flies already? And it's only January. This is a spot as well. So like, I don't like how much water ends up in this soil. Even now I can see it's a bit too moist compared to the soil around from rain last night. So I am going to be thinking about how to probably put some black plastic down and try and stop the water from actually soaking into the ground here, and just try and, with solid black plastic, just try and flush it down through some drainage channel down there where gravity will take it down faster. This area just does not need extra wet soil weight, to be honest. A whole bunch of our house and land depends on that bit being nice and strong. In general, like this area here on top of a massive rock, this area here next to that massive really hard rock, very different rock, very different conditions. I don't want to have to deal with that when there's an earthquake or something and encourage some kind of landslide happening. As we go around, still need to cut this tree down. That'll happen eventually, but it's too tall for us to try and handle. In the last video as well, I just done these drains, and the temporary solution actually turned out really good, so it's not temporary anymore. Here's another experiment, I guess you'd say, that we're growing. This is like the dry flower type eucalyptus, and I mean, it doesn't look so good at the moment because it's winter, but it's not in a particularly warm spot, especially in the morning, then it's doing okay, so that's pretty good. This yeah, this temporary solution is no longer temporary. It's nice and cheap. And yeah, I mean, this way hasn't changed much, but we have a yuzu tree over there. Yuzu is nice, but around here I think I've heard the frost is too strong, so it's really not that good, the quality of the yuzu fruit. We have a kiwi tree. Both of us are allergic to kiwis, so we want to cut that, and my wife wants to put a fig tree in instead, which would probably be good. And at the moment, this tsubaki tree, what's that, camellia or something? It's really nice. The birds enjoy it in the morning. And there's a biwa tree there. What is biwa? Japanese apricot? What was that? Oriental apricot or something? It's like an apricot type tree that one always has tons of flowers, tons of birds and bugs on it. It should have big fruit, but that house over there is empty. And our neighbor that looks after that house has said that he got permission to use that fruit, and he gave us permission to use that fruit because he has permission. So we kind of don't need one of those trees just yet, because we can take fruit from there when it's growing, because he doesn't really care too much about that fruit. I think in terms of updates, other than small damage caused by the friendly animals, that might be about it. It's not a hell of a lot, but the main thing is we've just been really busy with our tour company stuff, our new business. So we haven't had a lot of time, and I mean the roof used lots of our money. That's a big thing.